Potency test for grooms. So you met the love of your life 2 years ago and he finally proposed. You're all excited to plan your dream wedding, and after the most magical day of your life, it's time to spend some quality time with your brand new husband. However, before you can drag him into your matrimonial room, your mom comes with your aunt and tells you that she must sample him first before you can have sexual intercourse with him because it is the tradition. Sounds crazy, right? Well, not according to the people of Uganda in Africa. These guys have a tradition that allows the aunt of the bride to sleep with the groom first before the couple can consummate their marriage. Apparently, the reason for this is so that the aunt can taste the potency of the groom. Now, if the aunt is unsatisfied with the groom's performance, the wedding will literally be annulled because, well, nobody wants to marry an impotent man that can't satisfy them in bed. The bride is not left out either because she would also be taken aside for a virginity test, although the details of how they successfully do this are quite unclear. In their defense, this act is done to secure the couple's future happiness and fertility. Yeah, right. Well, hopefully the groom should not be too potent because just imagine the drama that would unfold if he were to get the aunt pregnant accidentally. Eating the dead's ash. A lot of traditions seem to have a bone to pick with the usual method of burying the dead, but the Yanomami people of Venezuela and Brazil have taken things to a whole new level. Now, instead of laying their loved ones to rest on the ground, they simply cook their bodies and eat them in a practice of endocannibalism, which is basically cannibalism with a twist. So the thing is, they don't actually eat the flesh of their dead. It's not like they're having barbecue ribs. Here's how it works. When you die, your body gets wrapped in leaves and placed in the forest, kind of like a DIY spa retreat, but instead of a masseuse, insects show up to do the work, nibbling away at the soft tissues for about 30 to 45 days. Once nature's cleaning crew has done their thing, the remaining bones are burned, and brace yourself, the ashes are ground up into powder, and the powder is used to prepare the soup, which the whole family slurps up. According to the Yanomami people, the soul can only properly rest and transition to the afterlife if the living relatives first consume the body. Talk about becoming one with your ancestors in the most literal way possible. It's like keeping a piece of your loved ones close, though maybe a nice family heirloom would have worked just as well. Confinement period. Picture this, you've just given birth, and instead of being up and about, showing off your newborn, you're being told, stay indoors, no showers, avoid cold food, and definitely don't touch the AC. Sounds odd, right? Well, not according to the ancient tradition of confinement, or sitting the month in China and its variations across Southeast Asia. Now, the confinement period typically lasts for 30 to 40 days after a woman gives birth. During this time, the new mother is expected to stay indoors, rest, and follow strict guidelines to restore her health and prevent future illness. While this all sounds lovely in theory, the specifics are really weird. Rule number 1 is that the new mother is not allowed to wash her hair for the entire month. The belief is that after giving birth, your body is in a vulnerable state, and exposing your head to water, especially cold water, could lead to health problems later in life. So while your baby is getting regular baths, you're left feeling like you're stuck in a dry shampoo commercial. The confinement tradition includes avoiding wind, drafts, and even air conditioning. The logic here is that wind could enter your weakened body and cause aches and pains, leading to ailments like arthritis later in life. However, while you might have to deal with some funky rules, the food situation isn't all bad. It's one of the highlights of confinement. The traditional diet during this period includes nutrient-dense dishes like bone broth, herbal soups, ginger chicken, and black sesame desserts. These are believed to help rejuvenate the body, warm up the system, and boost milk production for breastfeeding. Walking on hot coal. Every woman who has ever given birth to a child knows that childbirth is a very, very painful experience. You are literally trying to push something that is practically the size of a watermelon out from your tiny pee hole? Is that where it comes out? I don't know. So the Chinese people decided that since it takes 2 people to make a baby, both parties might as well participate in the painful experience. And no, the men are not required to push out babies. Instead, they're asked to walk over hot coals barefoot. The man is basically asked in the ritual to carry his pregnant wife and walk over hot coals. Now, if you've ever walked on hot pavement in the summer with no shoes on, you can just imagine how painful this would be. Anyway, the idea behind this agonizing walk is that the husband's physical pain will somehow take away his wife's pain during childbirth, because apparently walking on fire is supposed to magically make pushing a baby out a walk in the park. Now, the ritual even gets crazier because if the father fails the test of walking barefoot over hot coal, the unborn baby baby will be seen as cursed, which really defeats the whole purpose of the walk, right? But, well, tradition is tradition. Bathroom ban for 3 days. Have you ever wanted to use the bathroom so badly, but soon realized it was occupied by someone else? Now, just imagine if you couldn't pee, poop, or even bathe for 3 whole days. Well, that is what every bride and groom of the Taidong tribe of Northern Born experiences before they are allowed to get married. 3 whole days of a complete bathroom ban. According to the tribe, for your marriage to be successful and happy, you and your husband must stay away from using the bathroom, no matter what. Forget love, communication, and trust. This was the only key to a happy married life. The worst part about this ritual is that you guys wouldn't even still be allowed to shower before the wedding night, so you would literally meet the love of your life with 3 days worth of stinking mouth and body odor. At least, both the bride and groom have to go through this together, so they might as well consider it a quirky bonding experience. Till dirt and odor do us part. Beating to earn a wife. So every woman on earth would be proud to know that her husband is strong and ready to fight for her when the time comes. But then, how do you even know you're getting married to a strong man? Well, the Fulani tribe in Nigeria figured out the perfect way to do this. So in the Fulani tribe, the men have to go through a ritual known as sharo, which is basically a pain endurance contest, where very strong men flog the soon-to-be husbands mercilessly in public. Basically, these guys would be stripped half naked, and the whole village would gather around to watch them get their asses whooped. But here's the catch, they can't flinch. Not a single wince, tear, or ouch allowed. If you squirm, yelp, or even blink too fast, well, congrats, you're staying single. Because apparently nothing says husband material like being able to take a solid beating without so much as a raised eyebrow. It's a very funny way to measure a man's worth, because who even needs to know if he's responsible or kind when you can see how long he can stand being hit with sticks? Plus, the woman's opinions do not even matter in this situation. If her family puts her up for marriage and a guy can take the beating, then she automatically becomes his wife. No questions asked. If she says no, then she brings dishonor to her family. So basically, it's marriage by survival of the flayedest. Want to learn more about bizarre cultural rituals and traditions? Then join the Discord server today to get all the entertainment you want. Wedding with a tree. So you traveled all the way to India to attend the wedding ceremony of your college friend. You've heard so much about the rich Indian culture, vibrant colors, and tasty meals, and you cannot wait to get there. Now on the wedding day, you see your friend dressed in many beautiful jewels, but instead of her husband, she is walking towards a tree that's also wrapped in the finest clothes. Shocked and confused, you ask around, only to find out that your friend is actually getting married to the tree. And it is a tradition known as Kanyadan, or Vata Savitri. So basically, the tradition is based on traditional Hindu astrology, especially on the planet Mars. If you are born with Mars in the unfortunate constellation of Mangala Dosha, you automatically become a Mangalika, which is an evil omen, especially for your future husband, because the Indians believe that a marriage to a Mangalika means poor luck and early death. Fortunately, the spell cast on Mangalikas only applies to their first marriages, and the second husband is safe. So the bride marries a tree to dispel all the negative energy or ill-fated consequences that might affect her future marriage. Once the tree wedding is complete, the bride often goes on to marry her human partner, who may or may not have some green jealousy lingering in the air, but it's all in good spirits and a promising future, hopefully, without any pesky branches in the way. Self-mummification. Soku Shinbutsu monks, Japan. Now, you've been invited to learn about an ancient ritual that takes devotion to an extreme level, known as self-mummification. Yes, you heard that right. This is not some Egyptian afterlife process or a horror movie plot. It's real, and it's one of the most intense and bizarre spiritual practices ever known. So basically, in some Buddhist traditions, particularly practiced by the Shingon monks of Japan, self-mummification was seen as a way to achieve enlightenment and immortality. This practice, known as Soku Shinbutsu, involved a long and unbelievably difficult process, where monks would essentially mummify themselves while still alive. Yup, these monks took becoming one with the universe to a whole new level by turning themselves into human statues, and they achieved this through sheer willpower and and a method that will make you grateful for your pizza delivery guy. The whole self-mummification process took about 3,000 days, which is about 10 years, and the first stage of the process involved a super strict diet, where the monk only ate things like nuts, seeds, and tree bark. Imagine a diet so extreme that you'd be begging for a salad. The goal here was to strip away all body fat, because, well, fat doesn't mummify well. Basically, the monk was turning themselves into a lean, dehydrated raisin. Then, after a few years of bark and berries, the monk would switch to drinking a toxic tea made from the sap of the urushi tree, and this tea was used to kill any bacteria in the body and to prevent it from decomposing after death. Then, after they have prepared the body to this point, the monks would entomb themselves in a small underground chamber and sit for hours in the lotus position to meditate while breathing through a small air tube. Every day, the monk would ring a bell to let people know they were still alive. But if the bell ever stopped ringing, the air tube was removed and the tomb sealed. It's basically the ultimate no pain, no gain situation, except the gain is spiritual immortality, not a six-pack. Vanuatu land diving. So, if you were a tribe member from Vanuatu, then every new yam festival, you'll most likely be standing at the top of a wobbly, handmade wooden tower that's anywhere from 20 to 30 meters tall. It's been put together with nothing but some branches and vines. Now, this isn't your sturdy steel bungee jump platform, but more like something your uncle might slap together after watching a YouTube tutorial titled How to Build a Death Trap. Now, as the platform sways in the wind, you'd expect to see at least a trampoline or cushy airbag beneath, right? Well, no. The only thing you'll be landing on is hard, solid ground. And the only thing stopping you from making a full-on faceplant into the earth are the vines tied to your ankles. The goal is to literally dive headfirst towards the earth in a dramatic freefall and land just close enough that your shoulders or head lightly brush the dirt. Yes, lightly brush it. You don't want to actually smash into the ground, but you need to get close enough to give it a little head bump. According to the tradition of Nagol, or land diving, the dive ensures a good yam harvest and shows you're a brave, strong member of the community. It's like saying, I'm willing to risk my neck for the team, and for yams. Who knew yams could demand such extreme devotion? The origins of this death-defying ritual come from an old local legend. The story goes that a woman was trying to escape from her angry husband by climbing a tall tree. When her husband followed her up, she jumped off, but tied vines around her ankles to save herself. The husband wasn't so lucky because he jumped after her and, well, splat. Ever since then, the men in the village have been diving off high platforms to prove they're brave, and maybe that they wouldn't fall for the same trick. Spitting as a greeting. Picture this. You travel to Kenya for the first time, and you go to the Maasai village. Now, the people there tell you that you have to meet the elders to show respect and all, so you head to the elders' home. On getting there, you're bracing yourself for a strong handshake, but instead you get a splash of saliva on your face first. Apparently, in the Maasai culture, spit holds power and significance. So getting spat on was actually a sign of respect and honor. It's almost like exchanging business cards, but way more personal and moist. Now, if you thought spitting during greetings was unusual, just wait until you hear about how they greet newborn babies. When a Maasai baby is born, the parents don't just cradle it and say, oh, how cute. They spit on it. Yes, right on the baby's little forehead. This absurd act isn't a weird form of baby hazing though, because it's believed to bring good luck and protect the child from bad spirits. Basically, the logic is if they make the baby seem less appealing to the spirits, because, it's covered in spit, the spirits won't want to snatch the baby away. So in a way, the Maasai are honestly just trying to make them less adorable for their own safety. It's like putting a bad Yelp review on a cute baby to keep the supernatural away. The Walking Dead of Toraja. So imagine you're heading to a family reunion, but instead of just seeing your living relatives, you see your grandma, grandpa, and Uncle Benny, who passed away 20 years ago, all getting dressed up to join in. And no, they're not just sitting in chairs looking like props in a biology class, they are actually all walking back to the village. Basically, in this ritual, the Toraja people of Indonesia would dig up the remains of their loved ones, clean them up, and dress them in fresh, fancy clothes. It's called the Manin ritual, or the ceremony of cleaning corpses. After being exhumed and freshened up, the bodies are sometimes walked back to the family home. Traditionally, the belief is that the spirits of the dead are guiding their own bodies, but in reality, family members help prop them up and support them as they move through the village. From a distance, it looks like a scene out of The Walking Dead, except no one's screaming or running away, but the people are calmly helping the dead shuffle along as part of the celebration. The ritual is a way of staying connected with loved ones and honoring them. The body is seen as a sacred vessel, and keeping it clean, clothed, and even mobile ensures that the spirit is well taken care of. It's like checking in on your relatives, even if they've been gone for decades. Finger cutting of the Dani tribe. So let's say you lost your mom to a car accident. The normal response to this sudden tragedy would be to cry yourself to sleep for 1 week straight, maybe sleep in her bed, and just generally mope around the house for a while, all of which are technically normal responses to grief. However, for the women of the Dani tribe, dealing with the loss of a family member simply means they're also going to lose a body part. So basically, in the Dani culture, when a person dies, all the women in that family are expected to cut off one of their fingers. Literally. Yes, you heard that right. One death equals one finger. The reason for this absurd tradition called ikipalin is because, according to the Dani people, the fingers symbolize unity and strength. Therefore, a hand with complete fingers simply means that the family unit is complete and strong. In other words, when a family member dies, one finger simply has to go. So now you may be wondering what would happen if more than 10 family members died. Well, the woman would unfortunately lose all 10 fingers. Because what do they even need fingers for when the family unit has become so weak? Crying marriages, Toraja, China. So you've finally met the man of your dreams, and 2 days ago, he proposed. You're excited to plan your wedding and start a life together. However, if you were a bride from Toraja, China, instead of practicing your vows, you'd be perfecting your sobbing skills. Basically, in this centuries-old custom, Toraja brides cry to express their love, gratitude, and anticipation for their wedding. It's like a melodramatic performance where the more you cry, the more you show how much you care. Tears, in this context, equal affection. It's almost like reverse psychology. I'm so happy to marry you. Let me weep about it for a while. Now, the most bizarre part of this ritual is that the crying begins 1 month before the wedding. Firstly, the bride starts sobbing for about an hour every day, usually alone. Yes, this is scheduled crying, like going to the gym, but for your tear ducts. Then, after about 10 days of solo weeping, she's joined by her mother, who cries alongside her. Think of it as a mother-daughter bonding moment, except instead of shopping for dresses, they're wailing together in harmony. Then, a few days later, other female relatives, aunts, cousins, sisters, join in the chorus until the room is basically full of women sobbing their hearts out. By the time the wedding day arrives, the bride has had an entire crying marathon, building up her tear muscles like a pro. The bride's crying is supposed to symbolize how deeply she will miss her family, as she's about to leave her childhood home to join her husband's family. In Toraja culture, the more intensely and beautifully the bride cries, the more respect she shows for her family and her impending marriage. In fact, brides who cry well are praised, and it's seen as a sign of intelligence, virtue, and emotional depth.